Welcome in to episode 52 of Ramie and Drew. I am Ramie Makloff. That right there is Drew Flaggy. We're a couple of Milwaukee comedians. We talk sports and whatever other bullshit might come to mind. Drew, you're playing hurt today. You were questionable, and you've been out, quite frankly. That's why we haven't spoken in 5 days. First it was the ankle. Now it's what, like a stomach flu or something? What exactly is going on with Drew Flaggy?
I don't know. It's like some cold or something like that. I don't know. It
Okay.
got I got home from work on Monday, took a little nap before wiffle ball, and then I woke up and felt like shit, just like absolute hell. And then yesterday at work, I just felt weak as hell. Like I had like no, I don't know. I just like like when your body just feels like extremely weak. It was like
Yeah.
that, and then I called in today because I just felt awful. Like I had a fever. I slept with like a with a cold wet rag on my head just to try to take my fever down and stuff. Like it was I
It's not a
never
good feeling. That's not
I
a good
never
feeling.
get sick. And this year I've been sick more times than I think I was in the past like 14 years.
Hmm. Are you not
It's
taking care of yourself? You need to take better care of yourself, Drew.
I've been going to the gym. That's the crazy thing. Like I've been arguably taking the most care of myself.
Are you getting your antioxidants, all your vitamins and nutrients? What's the diet like? You know what I mean? It's important. That's part of the whole thing too, keeping up the immune system. Dude, the same thing. What do you got in there? Oh, I thought you were literally holding up like a Slurpee or a big gulp. I was gonna see, thank you. I rest my case, but
No,
that's
it's my Yeti filled with water. It's just water.
okay. All right, fair enough. Last year when we were in San Diego, and I got a bad stomach flu or something. I was shitting a lot and puking and everything. But like the main reason I wanted to go to San Diego was to see that ballpark. Like it's a beautiful place to see a baseball game. And we went anyways. I was like, I'm going. I was like, we drove all the way here. This is when I lived in Sacramento. It's like an 8 hour drive because you're gonna hit traffic when you're driving in California. And it was a pretty miserable experience, dude. Like the thing, the thing that stands out the most to me is on one side of their stadium, they have this huge like flight of steps, and it was like 80 something degrees. It's sunny, it's San Diego. They have this huge set of steps with a big SD logo, that they have on their hats. And it looked like I was standing at the bottom. I needed to go up them. I was standing at the bottom looking, and I swear it looked like Mount Everest with the condition that I was in. Like, how in cartoons, when you're
Yeah.
like they're looking at something that they're scared of, and it like gets bigger while they're looking at it. I literally had that experience because I had been shitting and puking, and there was zero energy or any nutrients of any sort left in my body at that moment to go up those stairs. But I did it. I made it. I got up the stairs.
Like ever since I was like a really little kid, and I still have this now. It's like a recurring dream if I wake up and I'm gonna like throw up. It's like my room expands to the point where my bathroom is pushed further and further away, and it's like, oh, you're not making it. Like it's just like I know exactly what you're talking about, but like my brain like does that, and it's like that's
Mhm.
like the you're gonna throw up. Like
Yeah,
it's like that.
it's a pretty terrible feeling. It's a pretty terrible feeling.
Well,
Speaking of
I think
terrible,
it's like a terrible feeling for me to call into work. Honestly, like I never do it. Like and
yeah, I
then
do
like
hate that.
I've done that twice this year.
I'll use the shit out of some vacation days, and I have no shame about that. Like, and when I was working at the fan, like how when you're at a certain place for a certain amount of time, you get more vacation time as you're there. And I was there for a long time at 1250, so I had a lot of vacation. And like Bart and other people would give me shit for it, and I was like, dude, I earned that. Like that's free money. That's paid time off that I
Yeah.
earned, and I'm gonna use every last second of it. And I have no shame about that. But I did hate to use a sick day when I had
Yeah,
a job.
vacation. Well, our vacation time isn't like split up into days. Like ours at my work is like we have to pick our vacations in December. So like I can't break up like a week of vacation. I can't do like 2 days and then 3 days. Like I can't do that.
Oh,
It's
shit.
goofy. It's goofy union bullshit. So,
By the way, do I need to close my window? I was doing Bart's podcast earlier today, and he said I need to close my window. Do you hear the motorcycles and things?
I can hear them.
Fine.
Okay. It's fine. I might have a coughing fit.
I'll close it if it becomes distracting. But speaking of not feeling well, do you want to start with the Brewers or pick up where we left off with the Bucks? What do you want to talk about first here, Drew?
I figured you'd want to do the Brewers because they lost to the Cubs over the weekend, and we could probably argue about Saturday's game.
About Sunday's game? What about Sunday's game?
Saturday's game, the one where the Cubs beat the Brewers by 1, and what ended up happening in that game where there was a very, very, very bad non-strike call for the Brewers.
Oh, that was I do remember that. But man, I mean, it's one pitch, and on top of that, like,
but when the next pitch goes for a double when it was a strikeout looking, that's a problem.
I understand.
Oh, do it again. That always do it again.
No, that always gets me too. That always gets me too when it has that domino effect of a bad call leading to something like that. Well, you know what I mean? You see it where it turns into like an 8 or a 9 run inning. But yeah, I mean,
like against the Yankees.
I hate the state of umpiring. I'll just leave it at that. And so there's no defending that, but at the same time, that's just a symptom of a much bigger problem than it has anything to do with this series or the Cubs and the Brewers.
Well, I mean, it's one of those things where it's like this entire week, and you could even go back to the Yankees series, where the things that didn't go the Brewers' way has absolutely destroyed them. Like today, Blake Perkins flipped on a fly ball to center field that ended up having runs score or extending the inning or whatever. Sal Frelick misplayed a ball that ended up, giving them an extra run. It was just, there were like a lot of things where it's like, okay, now it's like we had a couple bad sequences with like the home plate umpire not calling balls and strikes. And then you have our players also being young and making serious mistakes in the outfield, and it just buried them several times this past week.
Yeah, it does seem to it has seemed to snowball for them. Like when like the Cubs and like the Yankees, you just went through them. And I think that can be, I don't know if that's just a coincidence and that can just be baseball. You know what I mean? Where like the baseball gods beat up on you for a little bit, or it could be a symptom of a young team of like, oh shit, like something goes wrong, and then you it's sort of like I said, snowballs, or it becomes that self-fulfilling prophecy of, oh shit, here we go, and things start to go even worse. I don't know which one of those it is. I don't think, quite frankly, it's anything to worry about or to panic about. I've been saying, and I'll continue to say, it's going to be the Cubs and the Brewers all season for the NL Central, and I don't think that's going to change. And I'm not going to let this little stretch, or even what happened in Chicago over the weekend, change my mind about that. That was a fun series to watch, man. I don't know if you feel the same way being on the other side of it, but that was a really fun series to watch over the weekend between the Cubs and the Brewers. A lot of good pitching, a lot of clutch hits in big situations where you had the crowd into it, including Brewers fans who showed up well at Wrigley Field. I thought it was a really fun series to watch, and it's what I'm expecting and what I expect to enjoy about this race throughout the season, as I've been saying.
Yeah, I mean, it was fun. Like, I'm not gonna sit here and be all angry about those games and anything like that, but like it hopefully it's like it stays that way. I'm not hoping for a lot of blowouts or whatever, where it's just like 13-0 in the first inning. Like I don't want to see that. Like I'd like to see competitive baseball all year from both teams. I mean, we got to beat the shit out of the Cardinals. I'd like them to just blow the Cardinals out every game this weekend.
And I'm here for that. If anything, I'm here for that. I hate the fucking Cardinals as much as anything in sports. Yeah. So I'm going to the game Friday to watch it in person, to watch them beat the Cardinals in person, hopefully.
But then last night, Willy Adames hit his first career home run that took the lead in the 9th inning. Like that
did you see that he Babe Ruth that?
What?
He Babe Ruth that. He called his shot on that.
Oh yeah. He told.
He was talking to some fans. He was talking to some fans behind home plate who were giving him shit. And he was saying when it was the batter ahead of him, I forget who it was. I'm sorry, but the batter ahead of him had three. I'm sorry, say that again.
The Gary Sanchez, did they pinch hit him or something? And
it might have been. Anyways, they had 3 balls. They had 3 balls on him, and he was like, one more ball, and the pitcher got a strike, and he was like, I'm telling you, one more. And then the pitcher threw another ball and walked him, and he turned to the fan and he was like, watch this, and walked up to the plate and hit a walk-off home run. That's some baller ass shit right there.
It was still
it wasn't a walk-off, a game winner. I'm sorry, a game winner.
It was still kind of funny though, because like I was like, all the criticisms I had of Willy Adames, where I'm like, how many clutch home runs has he hit in his career? Turns out that was the most clutch one that he's ever hit. He's never hit a go-ahead home run in the 8th or 9th inning.
Yeah.
So it's like, all right, so my criticisms were kind of valid, but also he's been playing much better this year, so I don't want to keep beating that either. But like, I had a lot of
getting hits. He's been getting hits in some, not home runs, but hits in some clutch spots. So
just get hits. I don't care. I don't care where they go. Just get hits. Make contact.
Yep. Yeah, you can't really control that. That's the thing about baseball is you get to go up there. That they don't just put the bat in your hand when it's a clutch situation and say go get them like they can in baseball or football. So yeah, I mean just go out there and produce. And so far he's done that this season.
Yeah, he's been pretty good. I got no complaints about Willy Adames this season so far. So
the pitching remains pretty good. I mean, 5 runs, 4 runs, 6 runs. Not ideal, but the pitching still remains pretty strong and pretty consistent for the Brewers so far this season. I think that's probably gonna be their strength. It always is their strength somehow, some way.
The starters were good in this series. It was the bullpen that fell apart for us in this series against the Royals. Like they were the ones that. Now it's starting to look like all these young arms that got taxed super early with all the injuries. They might be a little bit tired right now. And I think they have 7 straight games now before they have a day off. I think they got 4 against the Cardinals and they got, 3 against Pittsburgh after that?
3 against Pittsburgh. Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. Yep.
Yeah. They got 7 straight games where it's like they're going to need some deep starting pitching outings out of some guys, which we should be getting Freddie Peralta back at least from his suspension. That was BS.
It's funny. I mean, this is something I've been saying since the season started, that the Cubs are having the exact same problem. Starting pitching is solid to good on more nights than not. They've lost 5 or 6 games because of their bullpen so far this year. And the offense has been inconsistent. They're very much mirror images of each other.
Yeah, don't you have more injuries than we do, technically?
I think so, yeah. They just got Justin Steele back, which is huge. He's sort of their ace. Yeah. So, like I said, they've had very similar seasons, and they're just very similar ball clubs in terms of the way that they're constructed and put together. And I think that's what made for a fun series and is going to make for a fun race. Moving on to the Milwaukee Bucks, Drew. Before we get into the I'm sorry, say that again?
Can we talk about injuries still? Achilles Antetokounmpo?
I was going to say, before we get into the off-season decisions that this team needs to make, there was some news. We could talk about Thanasis. How did he take – what was it? A torn Achilles? Is that what it was? Or an ACL? Achilles?
No, it was his Achilles. How?
Doing what?
I don't know.
Did it happen during the playoffs? Did it happen after? Because they haven't played in 5 days.
Don't remind me. I don't know. This is okay. This is like this completely dispels whatever load management would mean to people because Thanasis played like 8 total minutes all season. We really saved him for when it mattered most. And apparently his Achilles popped.
I'm not seeing anywhere. Nobody's telling me when it happened. Shams broke the news. I see Eric Name tweeting it. Let me see if he has it in the article. How and when did he do this?
It's like his exit interview. He did it on his podcast or something. Hey, Robbie, you're going to like this. for wiffle ball on Monday, first of all, you'll be pleased to know that we lost our first game.
I am pleased. And you know what? This whole illness that you have, your ankle, everything, maybe bad karma, maybe a curse on you for not asking me to be a part of your wiffle ball team.
I know. So this is going to go into two things about what happened there, and then this will get back to Bucks controversy stuff.
Sure. Yeah.
So we lost that game. One of our friends who is on the team, a mutual friend of ours, a comic, showed up, said he took a bunch of Adderall, and I was like, does that mean we should bat you first or last? Because he's in a mood. Okay, you know who I'm talking about. I have no problem saying this because he doesn't listen to this podcast. He batted out of order, which ended an inning for us, which ended up being the game. He took Adderall and couldn't fucking focus. Now, I said that I couldn't run, so I had to go play right field when I wasn't pitching. So I was like, okay. I can't run. I can only go lateral. And he goes, why? What's wrong? And I was like, he's like, you lost a bunch of weight. And I was like, I messed up my ankle. He's like, how'd you do that? I'm like, do you subscribe to my podcast? Then
I can't answer your question.
I can't answer that question if you subscribe to the pod.
Which brings us to Patrick Beverly. I'm sorry, exactly. Did I interrupt your story?
That in.
Who apologized. I forget the young lady's name. My apologies to the producer from ESPN. He apparently called her and apologized personally for his the way that he answered or didn't answer her questions in the locker room, as you just alluded to, by saying you don't subscribe to my podcast, so I'm not answering your questions. And also today on his own podcast, the Pat Bev Pod, he said with Roan, he flat out said he can't do what he did. He can't act the way that he acted after that basketball game. And Drew, I agree with him. I do, especially with the throwing the basketball into the stands. And by the way, I don't know what's real anymore with Twitter. You know what I mean? But I saw a tweet today that the Indianapolis Sheriff's Office is going to be investigating him throwing that ball into the stands. And so to me, that was the more egregious offense. I said this when we talked about it last time. They tried to make the thing in the locker room, which you want to say unprofessional. You want to say, it sort of violates the relationship between the media and the players. That's one thing. But people tried to make it like a sexist thing. And I didn't think it was that at all. But nonetheless, Pat Bev has apologized for both things.
I told you that is exactly where a lot of them a lot of the media were going to run with this. It was going to be misogyny. And sure as shit, Nick Wright, he was the first one. Misogynistic was the first word out of his mouth. I don't watch Fox Sports. I don't watch FS1. Like, I don't watch any of that crap. The only time I ever see Nick Wright say anything that goes viral, it's because he's drama farming, just like everybody else does, just like every podcast, just like that. Nick Wright, to me, is a super fucking clown, honestly. Like, he is a guy who he gets on his fucking media high horse and he pontificates to everybody about how important it is on how these players should act. It's like, well, Nick Wright, these players like Pat Bev, if you listen to his podcast, because Nick Wright also said Patrick Beverly's got a terrible podcast, which that's objective. You can not like it. You can like it. It doesn't matter.
I thought it was a pretty good shot when he said it ranks lower than Andy Roddick's podcast.
That's a good shot.
There were some parts of that Nick Wright rant where you were like, ooh. Like it was like some Kendrick Lamar or Drake shit. You know what I mean? Where he really unloaded the clip.
You get more of an insight onto who Pat Bev as a person on his podcast and how genuine he is, or like what he thinks about. Like, he's more of a human than any of these media people are. So again, like, do we trust the media people on this one, or is this going to be? Nah, I get it. The players were emotional. The players are pissed off. I mean, Pat Bev said that he was upset. He was depressed for 4 days sitting at home because, he's like, we should still be playing. And I mean, yeah, it's like, I agree with him. They should still be playing. They shouldn't have gotten beat by that clown ass team. How did Indiana do against the Knicks? That wasn't good.
They're playing right now. Actually, Game 2 is going on right now. I'm watching.
Yeah, how much are they down by?
I don't know. It's halftime. I don't have the exact score. I'll let you know in a second.
No, it's just like we knew exactly what the narrative was going to be the second it started. It was going to be massage.
Pacers are winning. Pacers are up 73-63.
Oh, they're up by 10. Well, Knicks will come back and take this one. Doesn't matter.
I think it can. Again, I wasn't buying the misogyny angle because as I heard other people say that he's been doing this since he came to Milwaukee and to reporters, male and female. So while again, you can call it disrespectful, you can say unprofessional, and you might be right. I just thought that the misogynistic angle was a little bit much, and I think it can be a little bit of both, Drew. And Pat Bev, again, he admitted himself he shouldn't have acted the way that he acted in both instances, throwing the ball into the stands and the way that he acted in the locker room. It can be Pat Beverly shouldn't have acted like that, and the media took it a little too far and maybe was pulling at a few strings that they knew would get the reactions and the clicks and the views.
Here's the other thing. That entire series, you had no Giannis. It comes out later that Giannis wasn't going to be back for a minimum 2 more weeks. Mm-hmm. He wasn't close to coming back. Damian Lillard had a strained Achilles. From what a lot of people said, it was a grade 2 Achilles strain, so that wasn't nothing. He went out there and played on it anyways. Chris Middleton had like 2 rolled ankles, basically. So it's like you can't sit there and say that the Bucks got beat because their 3 best players were playing hurt. So the story became, well, how do we make the Bucks the whipping boys again and say, look at what this clown-ass team did? And they found Pat Bev. That's just what this all was. If Bobby Portis hauls off and hits Andrew Nembhard again, that would have been the story. If Brooke Lopez did something crazy, like threw my to the ground or something like that, that would have been the story. Pat Bev was just the easiest target for the media, who already was against the Bucks all season long.
See, I think, and you're right about the way that the media approached the Bucks and covered the Bucks this year, and have for a number of years in terms of trying to report Giannis right out of Milwaukee. You know what I mean? It's always something, and then and now it's Dame, and they should trade him, and maybe he's not happy here, and blah blah blah. And I don't know what all that is about. And yeah, you're probably right when you say that they were going to find some angle on and to hate on the Bucks with, but I think you're also, in a sense, letting Pat Bev off the hook when you make that your main takeaway from this, because Pat Bev gave him plenty to talk about in terms of the way that he acted. And again, he admitted that.
Well, yeah, that's also true. Like, it's not like
he provided them with that because he acted like an ass.
Yeah, that's true. I still just, I'm like, I treat all of them like on like ESPN, FS1. I treat them the same way that like everybody treats like Fox News. I'm like, they're all psychopaths. Like I don't like I'm like, there's nothing that comes out of their mouths that is worth it.
It has gotten out of control. It has gotten a little bit out of hand. I was never really an ESPN or a national media hater, and I didn't think that there was like any vendetta or any angle against the Bucks or Wisconsin or Milwaukee. But there definitely is something when it comes to the Bucks lately and the national media. I don't think there's any doubt about that.
It was getting Damian Lillard. It was literally that, because they thought that he was supposed to be in Miami.
It might be.
It was literally like, I think that exacerbated. They want that to go so sideways. They want him to hate it here. They want that so bad, because they don't want to come here because, you know, there's snowstorms in June. I mean, I'm not a good case for Milwaukee being great right now because I'm sick. But I know you wanted to talk about go up and down the roster, who's staying, who's leaving?
Yeah.
What you got?
You have it in you, or do you want to save that for the next one?
No, we can do that. We can.
All right, because I have the roster pulled up on Spotrac and everybody's contract situation, and yeah, I just wanted to go through the roster. And so, to me, there are three categories when you're entering an off season, Drew, and you have a team that needs some tweaking, that needs some fine tuning if they're going to win a championship. I think we can all look at it and say that. Well, the national media, yes, goes a little bit too far. And do they need to trade Giannis? Do they need to trade Dame? I think we can start right there. But like I said, there are three categories, and that's not going anywhere. Gotta go. Guys that absolutely you can't have on this roster next year. And then guys that maybe you could take them, maybe you could leave them. Yeah, I'm listening. Offers on those guys. But as far as I'm concerned, Drew, I think in any realistic world, like I said, we can start at the top of the roster because it's really, to me, because we're not the national media talking heads, sort of much ado about nothing. There's nothing to talk about when it comes to Giannis, Dame, and Chris. They'll be Bucks next year, as far as I'm concerned. They're not going anywhere. And they're the only three guys in that category.
Yeah, they are the only three. I think an outside shot of a guy that would be also in that outside three, and this is going to be a super wild card, Andre Jackson Jr. I could see him ending up somewhere defensively in like the either the starting rotation or being like a guy right out of like the gate. Specifically because of the way he plays defense and goes up for rebounds and stuff, and he can get chaos out there.
Mm-hmm.
Because they got out hustled so bad this year, or in the playoffs especially, that you need a guy with speed.
Yeah.
Guys that got to go. Jay Crowder. I wanted him to be able to get a ring here. It's not going to be at the detriment of the team now. Jay Crowder's he's done.
And is he a free agent? I don't even see him listed on the roster here on Spotrac.
Yeah, I believe he is.
So they can let him go at no cost, essentially, and it'll actually save them money. So yeah, I'm with you on Jay Crowder. Dude, Pat Connaughton has got to go to me. And this is I mean, maybe for some people not, but for me, that's a tough decision for a guy that played a major role for, the team that won that championship in 2021. But you're going to have to make some tough decisions when you're going into an off season and you need to make some changes to a roster. As far as major guys on this roster go, Pat Connaughton is probably at the top of my list of guys that gotta go. And he's got 1 year left on his contract. Maybe you can get his what's his cap hit next year? Almost $10 million. Maybe somebody will take his expiring $10 million cap hit next year off your hands in a trade. If somebody would do that, I'm jumping at that opportunity.
Yeah, he's got to go. He's just I don't know what he brings outside of, I guess, just jumping at people. He's got to go. Pat Bev, I know, said that he wants to stay here. He'd like to.
He also said the price went up. Yeah,
but his price point went up, so it's like we can't really afford that. So,
by the way, with the way that he acted in the last game, did his price go up, or did he?
Probably not. Probably
that's
not.
what I'm saying. Did he cost himself a few bucks and bring the price right back down with the way he ended his season?
No, he probably brought his price range down to a vet minimum, which would be perfect for us. So, I mean, I would be all right with him coming back.
I'd bring him back.
I like him.
I mean, he's gonna start the season suspended, but I'd bring him back.
Marjan, I mean, if we could get something, if we could trade something for him. Marjan,
honestly, everybody else on this team, like I said, Dame, Giannis, Chris, they're in the not going anywhere category. For me, I'm with you. Jay Crowder and Pat Connaughton are in the gotta go category. Outside of that, like you mentioned Andre Jackson Jr. He's a guy I would listen to offers for. Marjan, I'd listen to offers for. AJ Green, if he's part of a package, I'm not going to be upset. You know what I mean? He's not untouchable. And then we get into the really tough decisions of guys who are, starters or major role players for you off your bench when you get to Bobby, Brooke, and I'm drawing a blank, and Malik Beasley. I think those three guys are probably the toughest. Everybody else is just going to be a throw-in in some kind of trade if they're not Bucks next year, or if they're free agents, they'll just walk away and sign somewhere else. But those three guys right there, or four guys right there, that's where the tough decisions are going to happen, because you got to give up something to get something. And if you want quality players in return, people are likely going to be asking for a Bobby Portis or a Brooke Lopez. Malik Beasley he's a free agent, if I'm not mistaken. But guys like that, man, are the type of guys you're going to have to give up if you want potential impact makers in return.
Well, Beasley was here on a minimum, and it was under the understanding that he was going to be a bench player. If we could find a way to get somebody into that 2-hole, like that shooting guard slot that can play defense, I would be fine bringing back Beasley off the bench again, like what he was intended to be. I don't know how you go get without giving, it sounds with the way that they're talking that Brooke is going to be here. Like all the players, they all are talking about having basically a big four in the way that Brooke played in the playoffs, in the way that he would that he was driving and drawing fouls and stuff. Like, I think that Brooke is still going to be a bigger part of this team, and I think Doc is going to park his ass back in the paint, especially to be a screener for Giannis, so Giannis doesn't have to put so much stress on his legs. I don't hate the idea of him spending a little more time in the paint. I don't like all the dribbling and trying to take guys off the dribble that I saw Brooke Lopez doing this year. Every time he did it, I was just waiting for him to dribble it off his foot or off the defender or go up with some kind of sloppy shot attempt looking for a foul. I want him to be a spot-up three-point shooter or a post player, and that's pretty much it. That's totally. I don't need him having the ball in his hand for extended periods of time. That's not something I need to see from Brooke Lopez. You got plenty of guys in this lineup that can handle the basketball. Brooke Lopez is the last guy I want to see handle the basketball. Gallinari is another one that's got to go. He's gone.
Yes. Yeah, he's a free agent too. He's probably, but like I said, outside of those are the extremes. You have three guys, Giannis, Dame, Chris, that are not going anywhere. You have a few guys on the back end of the roster, Jay Crowder, Pat Connaughton, Gallinari, that got to go. For me, everybody else, including, like I said, it's hard to say, but Brooke, Bobby, Malik Beasley, those are guys that if them moving on or trading them or letting them walk away in free agency means you're getting better somehow, it hurts a little bit because you love those guys, but I'm willing to listen.
Well, that's the business side of sports, though, where you got to get rid of people that maybe you don't want to.
Yep. Yeah. Anything else, Drew? You sound like you're running out of steam, buddy. I got to admit, you're coughing.
I'm sniffling. But I was like, we needed to get a podcast out because we haven't done one in a few days.
Are you going to poop? Do we need to go so you can
poop? Or... No, it's just
okay.
Cough. I got my brand new dual pack.
Oh, that's clutch right there. Love the dual pack. They should make the Dayquil. They should make the Dayquil bigger than the NyQuil because you're up. Theoretically, you're awake for more than you are asleep. You know what? I need Dayquil for 15 to get me through 15, 16 hours of a day. I just need NyQuil to get me through 8 hours of sleep.
And you know what's crazy? I had a thing of Dayquil already at home when I got sick. I was like, oh, look at that. I still have some. So, yeah, it felt that way.
I see you go name brand. I always go store brand. It's the same shit, dude. You can literally read the ingredients. It's the same shit.
You know what? Just let me do what I got to do.
All right. Do what you got to do.
Talk about name brand, and you're wearing a Marvel shirt right now. Name brand.
That's a completely different thing. You're not a fan of NyQuil, all right? I'm a fan of Marvel.
I am a fan of NyQuil.
Well, that's a problem. That's a problem if you're a fan. Were you trying to show me something on your shirt there? What were you trying to show me?
Is Under Armour. I was trying to go Under Armour, but it's not like middle.
You're a name brand whore. That's what you are.
Yeah. No, I like
Drew.
Yeah. Yeah. I might be dead one of these.
All right. That's Drew Flaggy, name brand whore. I'm Ramie Makhlouf, Marvel fan. And this is Ramie and Drew, episode 52. We will talk to you again next time. We thank you for listening. Please follow, subscribe, rate, review, tell a friend on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple. Talk to you next.